I reached financial freedom in less than 10 years, even though in most of the years of my life, I never made more than $50,000. And what I'm doing now is I'm bringing on my friend, Dominic, who works in the education industry, teaching kids, the often talked about underpaid industry. And a lot of people are talking about how do you get started when you're not making a lot of money? So what we want to focus on today is what does it look like after you acquire 67 units as a teacher? So I'm going to start with a couple of questions, and I'm going to give people that are here a chance in the comments to get some questions ready for a person who is teaching kids, reaching financial freedom through real estate, and has currently 67 units, probably going to have more. Definitely not I think the lazy investor's way of doing this. So I want to find out that. But Dominic, my first question that we'll get to all the questions on how you started, how you grew it and everything. But when you were looking at investing, why real estate and not stocks?
Wow, great question. I always knew stocks were a little volatile, they up and down. And I had a mentor who grew up in my neighborhood, a few years older than me, and I saw what he was doing. I'm like, wow, he's just kind of an unassuming guy. I figured, if he can do it, I think I can do it. And when I was teaching, when I first started my career, there were some landlords, and believe me, I picked their brains. And they also did get me into annuities. It's through my job, so I have that as well. I've always been the kind of guy who, there's probably a joke in here somewhere. I've always prided myself not to be the smartest guy in the room, and I've always been more than happy to take advice from people who've been there and done it. And I was fortunate enough to work with some people who were into real estate and annuities, and they told me that back then even stocks can be, it could be like going to a casino. But I saw what they were doing with real estate, and like I said, the guy in my neighborhood who I grew up with, I saw what he was doing, and I picked his brain. He mentored me, and I walked with him. Got in a car with him, took rides to Home Depot, Menards, saw how he interacted with his tenants. Yeah, so I said, yeah, I think this is doable.
So what I really like is that you had somebody who you said is unassuming, right? So there's nothing that really stood out. They didn't just seem like they were just super smart, not the Grant Cardones of the world. It's kind of the reason why I like making this content is I think, and please don't take this wrong, you seem normal. And I think I'm like average, right?
There's a lot of people that might debate you on that. My wife is watching this. She might chime in and say,
of course. Right. So the average person can reach financial freedom. And so I want to talk about your portfolio, right? So now we understand why you kind of chose real estate. It doesn't play vertical pong like the stock market does. And you had an example of somebody who did it on a teacher's salary. How do you get started in real estate?
I've always been pretty frugal. It was something that was ingrained with me, with my parents. We always live beneath your means. Now at my job, once every 2 weeks, I have a investment seminar. And the first thing I tell the kids right off the get-go, you must live beneath your means. You have to live beneath your means. If you work a part-time job, if you make this much, spend this much. Studies show if you make this much and spend this much, no matter how much, exactly. There's something called the lottery curse. You say, wow, lottery curse, that should be a blessing. You win the lot. Well, no, a lot of people have been ruined by winning the lottery. And, I'm a huge fight fan. And so many boxers go broke after, I think X amount, the majority of sports athletes go broke. So right from the get-go, one thing I was always pretty good at was living beneath my means.
So I think it's awesome that when somebody asks, how do you get started? You say, live beneath your means. Yeah. When I talk about getting started in real estate, I have 6 steps for doing this. And the very first step, the thing that if you don't do it all the way through your investing, you're never going to make it, is learning how to save. That is increasing your income, decreasing your expenses, and then actually putting the difference to work. So I totally agree. When did you start investing in real estate?
I bought my first house in 1996. My mentor just walked me through it. My range of knowledge went from A to B. I thought that, that was kind of intimidating, but this is a house I lived in. It was 1996. And again, he walked me through it. I got an ARM. At that time, those were big in the 1990s. And I did something else that a former worker of mine did. I emulated. I worked at a popular food store here in the Midwest called Jules. I worked there for 9 years. So the guy told me, because this guy worked at Jules as well, and he told me he's got a full-time job as a salesman. Spend the salary, spend your Jules salary when you start teaching, save that. So when I worked at the food store, I also put they had something of a 401k program. We called it share profit. So I had a nice little war chest before I started investing.
So you had a retirement type account.
Yes.
That you emptied to put to work in real estate.
Yes.
Okay. And a lot of times whenever anybody says, well, of course you're rich and you're financially free with real estate because you invested when they were not born yet, or like Millennial Mike was in high school during the last recession and didn't have the opportunity to be buying rentals. How would you suggest somebody starts now?
Save. Just save, and don't screw up your credit. Your credit, that's your history. The people can tell so much about you through your credit. Yeah, save, live beneath your means. And also, again, don't screw up your credit. But most of all, there's a big advantage kids have today that I didn't have, or maybe when you started, we didn't have YouTube. All we had were buying books. And I bought a book from Russ Whitney, some of these books. You know what? They seem pretty intimidating. This guy's got like 1,000 units, and here I am. I'm struggling. I'm like, wow, I don't know if this is doable or whatever. But now there's so much information right here, right in your fingertips. Immerse yourself in blogs like BiggerPockets, YouTube. Just hit the YouTube and you see something that's very basic. I know BiggerPockets has various types of investing for newbies and everything. I mean, a lot of kids spend a lot of their time on video games or this or that. If you're really, really interested in something like that, immerse yourself in knowledge.
It's almost like everybody has time that they dedicate to some kind of hobby to unwind from life.
And I think that's great.
If you pick the hobby of learning real estate, just for a few years, it's not like you have to do that forever. If you do that for 2 to 5 years, then you pretty much never have to worry about it or think about it again in the future. And it's really funny that my 6 steps to getting started in real estate, the first one is learning how to save. The second one is getting your credit score right. So those are the things that worked in the 90s. Those are the things that worked in, I was investing for the last decade. Over half my portfolio was acquired after 2020. And I understand your portfolio grew significantly recently in the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With the, I took advantage of the interest rate dropping. We had money saved up, and I told my wife, let's damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead.
and so that's a moment of brilliance right there. If you look at every year for the last decade or longer, every single year there's been a reason not to invest. In 2011, prices were going down and people thought they're going to keep going down. By 2013, they'd gone up so high they were higher than 2008, and everybody was saying they're going to crash because they're higher than 2008, so there's no way it's sustainable. 2015 and 16, we had the silver tsunami coming. All the baby boomers were going to retire, so it was going to be a flood of inventory. 2018, when I was buying my duplex, interest rates were above 6%, which was unsustainable. 2020, when you were going full steam ahead, when you dove in, pandemic, eviction moratorium, and everyone was saying, don't buy. Ken McElroy came out and said 40%, not at 40% crash within the next 3 months. He later came back and said, I was wrong, which was really cool. He admitted he was wrong.
Yes. But some people don't.
But somebody that immersed in real estate was calling for that. And you said, nope, I'm going to go out and buy a bunch of rentals. So if you're watching this, it never feels like the right time to buy. You have to
Exactly.
make the decision to buy.
You know, when the crash happened in 2008, again, I didn't have Cash App. I didn't have a lot of these electronic gadgets, which make it a lot easier. But I did buy. And I had my children were younger at the time. I wasn't as aggressive as I wish I was. But again, you can't put a price tag on your kids' upbringing. You got to be there to watch their basketball games and everything. So now I have this, and I spend a lot less time landlording. It sounds counterintuitive. Hey, I'm buying more properties, but I have more time. But I do remember experts telling me, oh, you don't want to buy in 2008, 2009. The crash is going on. That's okay, but it's still cash flowing. As long as there's cash flowing, that's fine, because eventually the market will correct itself.
Yeah, I totally agree. Buy and hold investors actually made out really well during 2008, 2009. They're going to make out really well right now. We are making out really well from the last couple of years. Flippers and wholesalers for the last decade have done really well because it's been an uptrending market. But now that we're kind of flattening, this might not be the time to try that. But buy and hold, as long as it cash flows.
Mm-hmm. Buy and hold was not very, again, when the market shot up like a rocket from 2004 to 2008, I kind of sat on the sidelines because there wasn't much cash flow at the end of the month. And again, the property values were shooting through the roof. And I just didn't see it being sustainable. The interest rates were higher. And with these property, again, I'm looking at my, to use a Zuber term, my buy box. You didn't have massive investment in coming into an area that would cause the property values to go high. I said, this is not sustainable. And sure enough, it's 2008. Yeah.
Right. So buying for cash flow, we don't care if the prices crash.
Yeah. Again, with real estate, there were a lot of people who did very well during the boom. You had people who bought in 2005, fixed it up, and made handsome profit when they sold in 2006 or 2007. And there were a lot, unfortunately, who bought properties in 2008. They gutted the house, they fixed it, then a crash occurred.
Yeah. So before I get to the questions in the comments, I do have one more question for you.
Sure.
I self-manage 16 rental units. It takes me about 2 hours a month. And I think it would take me about 2 hours a month to manage a property manager. With 67 units, you self-manage. And I want to say this on camera to Dom, but family makes you strong.
Yes.
I don't know if you got that. Your wife is on board.
Yes,
your wife helps with this. How much time do you and her put into self-managing 67 rental units?
Ooh, I would say probably about an hour and a half a day. About an hour and a half a day. She'll do a lot of the clerical work. Again, this has helped a lot with managing. And I do have a de facto manager. There's a guy who lives in one of my properties. He doesn't pay me anything in rent. I have so much work for the guy. And they call him. They call Tom. They know to call Tom the handyman. And he goes there, goes here. And, my properties are all within the same vicinity, which is very helpful. So at the end of the day, he said, hey, I did such and such, did this. I did X, Y, and Z on this property, ABC on this. The whole bill for today is $500. Give me $250 and take $250 off the rent.
So I have a video coming out next week on the most important person on your team. And you'll hear people like David Green from BiggerPockets talk about your core four, your agent, your lender, your all of the people that are very important to you, right? But the most important person to a person who wants to be financially free and have your time freedom is your handyman. So probably doesn't watch this kind of content, but Tom is the important person. The reason I'm able to go to Portugal next week and stay as long as I want is because I have two handymen who will handle the calls, who will get some money if there are no calls. They will make more money if there are. And so while you're building your portfolio, you date your agent and your lender. Once the transactions are closed, they don't impact your portfolio. That handyman or handywoman or contractor, that's where your time freedom comes from. So that's brilliant to do a rent trade for.
Absolutely. Like I said, I think the key to success, you got to have a team. You have the behind the scenes. I called my realtor. I said, hey, get me in to see such and such house. Then I call, we make a contract, and then we send it to the lawyer, the insurance agent, the lender. And then once you get the keys, that's when the fun starts. That's when you now
That is when the fun
that,
starts.
you know, my handyman, when it comes to plumbing and electrical, his range of knowledge may go from A to P. If it's something beyond that, then I have people who don't live far from the neighborhood, and you know, text message, and there they are. Text message, Cash App, boom.
A lot of people say they didn't want to be a landlord because of all the work that it takes. So an hour and a half a day to self-manage 67 rental units because of the team you put in place is a lot better than 40 to 60 hours or 80 hours a week at a W-2. So I'm going to get to these questions really quick. I want to thank Millennial Mike, who's over here and should make a cameo in the video, for the super chat, because we're actually in Gary, Indiana, or close to Gary, Indiana, because I haven't heard any shots outside. So I don't think we're in Gary currently. Looking at his entire portfolio, doing a portfolio tour, Dom drove down just to hang out. He's actually been a huge impact on Mike's investing. And Mike says, thank you for coming and spending your time here. Appreciate that.
Yeah, Dom, thanks for being here. Thanks for taking the time to hang out with us. For those of you who don't know, he's the freaking man. 67 rentals in a crazy psycho city like Chicago and the crazy psycho state of Illinois. And he's done it using the BRRRR strategy and Section 8 rentals. So if you have any questions on Section 8, he is a master at the Section 8 program. All 67 Section 8, right?
Mostly.
Okay,
yeah,
and you've been doing Section 8 for how many years total?
1998.
Okay, I'm not good at the quick math. Lumberjack's not here, but you guys, you got Section 8 questions. Put them in the chat.
We have Christopher Ramsey, teachers represent.
Any relation to Dave Ramsey?
Good afternoon. Made my first binder for one of my tenants, gave it to them yesterday. So you self-manage, you work with Section 8. Have you ever done anything like the binder strategy with any of your tenants?
No, I haven't. It's very interesting. I've seen your videos on that. It's very doable.
Okay. So just so you know, there is a way to use it with Section 8. So before you leave tonight, I will go over that with you.
Thank you.
Chester asks, when did you start? So we got 1998. How'd you get your first involved? So you tapped into the retirement account. What kind of systems do you have in place to acquire your rentals while being a full-time teacher? So how are you finding your next deals?
The MLS. Yeah, I go on the MLS, and I'm to the point where now I could put 20% down if I'm not doing a BRRRR.
Okay, so you're saving the cash flow, going off the MLS.
Yes.
That 100% aligns with the lazy way of doing this. Every single one of my deals is from the MLS, and I save the down payment. If you want to do a lower down payment, there are 2 times I house hacked. The rest actually saved up the higher down payment that it takes to get that investment property. I actually kind of like to put down a down payment. I've had the VA loan option, and I've never used it because I don't want to be 100% levered on a property. Chester Williams, howdy. Are there any books you'd recommend, real estate based, financial based, or both?
One rental at a time, Mike Zuber. And then there's the other book, which has a save, John Schaub, I think one property at a time is something very similar. John Schaub's book is that's a great book. I really liked, as well as Zuber's, because Schaub deals in single family houses mostly, which I do. So his strategy really resonated with me.
All right, so I'm going to ask a question, and I'm going to try not to go on a rant, depending on the answer. Are your properties in LLCs or in your own name?
In my own name, no LLCs.
No rant. Holy crap. Okay.
No fist fights. Why, Dominic? Because you and Dion didn't meet each other in person at any point just recently. So why did you make the decision to never put a property over the last 30 years? Weren't you afraid of lawsuits? I mean, it's been almost 30 years of investing.
A lot of tedious paperwork. It's very expensive, and as a lawyer told me, it's not 100%. It's not 100% foolproof. Okay, I was recommended an umbrella. That's what I have.
Me too. And it's cool because until today we've never met each other, although we have interacted a little on Facebook when you had your Business Insider article come out, and the lovely haters said, oh, wait, no, that's a successful person. I must attack. But we united and attacked back. 0 to hero. Howdy. Dom, who are some of your favorite real estate educators and why?
I like Robert Kiyosaki. I think I would totally recommend his book to anyone embarking on any type of investment. But here's the thing about Kiyosaki. He doesn't teach you strategies from A, B, C to D or whatever. His is more of a mindset, an entrepreneur mindset. I do like him, but I do like John Schaub's book. And you know what? He updated it, I think, a 2020 version. He's out of Florida. I've yet to read Brandon's book from BiggerPockets. I heard that's pretty good. I'll probably get that during the summer.
I recommend Set for Life by Scott Trench from BiggerPockets too.
Okay.
That's a book I liked. I love Kiyosaki. I think you nail it. It's a mindset book.
Yes.
It's not a how-to book.
Yeah.
The closest thing to how-to is Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki that at least explains how taxes work. Question from Chester here. How do you keep good terms with lenders during restrictive lending times?
Wow. Okay. Again, the best way to keep good terms is pay. Don't be late. Have a good name. Again, your credit is who you are, and always look for other lenders, because on a couple of occasions, to no fault of mine, a lender called me and said, hey, we're tightening the belt. We can no longer do the product that you want. So you always want a plan B or plan C. Shop around. And one thing I've learned, smaller banks have more latitude when it comes to lending. Smaller banks, yeah.
So shopping lenders is sometimes
Absolutely.
different types of lenders. So you use smaller banks, credit unions, mortgage brokers, but also shop them time.
Yes.
If the lender says, no, we can't do this, check again in 2 weeks. They often change the way that they look at things.
Mhm.
There was a question and I lost it. First, I'm going to get to the super chat from Adam. Howdy. Can't wait to see Millennial Mike's portfolio. I'm about 20 miles south in Crown Point. I always enjoy all of your content. Nice. It's close to here.
Crown Point. Cool. Great town. Love Crown Point.
You'll have to reach out to Mike and see if you can connect with us before we leave on Tuesday.
Seriously. Text me on Instagram. Send me a message on Instagram.
There you go, Adam. That would be cool. There was a question and I lost whose name it was. I'm very sorry, but it was, do you ever do cash out refinances, HELOCs, or 1031s to pull equity out and put it to work?
I do pay when I pay off properties. I do get like some type of equity loans. Yeah, I do get equity loans on paid off properties.
How many properties do you have paid off now? Let's look at your portfolio. Do you know things like the loan to value of the whole portfolio?
I have about 20. I look good on paper. I have about 26 properties that I do not own, that I do not have a mortgage with. I have about 26 properties. Yes.
26 properties paid off. You go with Section 8. There was a question and my chat moved, so I lost everyone's name. I do apologize. Pros and cons to the Section 8 program.
Pros, it's guaranteed. The other pro is you have leverage on the tenant if they do not pay their portion. If there's complaints, they can lose their voucher. The cons, sometimes it depends what inspector you get. Sometimes they can just go right through there and nitpick, and there's pros and cons and everything. But again. The pros is that you get the guaranteed money. You get the guaranteed money during the pandemic. You know what? I slept pretty well.
Yeah. So I use Section 8 as a diversification strategy. About a third of my units are with Section 8. Some of the pros that I like is the consistency of it. You have somebody to call if there's an issue. Somebody else is going to inspect your property. And while I work in 2 different counties, there's one county where they're so ridiculous and stupid, and I don't want to name them by by name, but Pierce County, Washington.
No,
I will never own Section 8 there because of how they work. In Thurston County, they're great. So you have to kind of know
right.
what's going on in your area. So it sounds like you have a fairly decent relationship there,
Yeah.
except for every now and
Yeah.
then an inspector. Chester Williams would like to know if you are looking to scale up your portfolio or are you happy with where you're at? Because it confuses everybody that I'm happy where I'm at.
I like to keep going. I like to keep going. Yeah, like I said, with today's technology, I could buy more without spending much time.
So scaling without adding time is important. That's
Yeah,
where
it's
those
very
systems,
important.
those systems matter.
Yeah.
What's the plan to scale? Are you going to keep doing exactly what you're doing, play all the classic hits, or change it up at all?
It's going to be hard to do the burr with these interest rates. So just buy with 20% down.
So there's a couple of questions here. Are all 67 properties in the city of Chicago?
I have 2 in the suburbs, and I have about 8 in Hammond. About 7 or 8 in Hammond.
Okay. And then there's a question here I actually don't know. Where did the nickname Chicagoland come from?
Well, Chicagoland it's a metropolitan area. Yeah, Chicagoland. It's just Chicago Met. It's just another term for Chicago metropolitan, the surrounding suburbs.
Okay, so there's no nickname origin. It's just what people call it. Okay,
Windy City's the nickname.
that's what I thought.
Yeah,
and I thought there was
City.
something I was going to learn.
Yeah,
something
Windy
new.
City. Yeah, Chi-Town. Yeah,
Chirac.
To Compton. Dividend Dave, howdy. And I see that you say you own a super chat. Yep. Thank you for that. What is the biggest challenge in your growth?
Wow. Yeah, you know what? And I've been knock on wood. I've been fortunate. Since the pandemic, there's not been much turnover with tenants. That was always a problem. You might get 2 or 3 tenants that move out this month, and that might stop you from buying because now you have to fill these. So again, I've been pretty fortunate with that. That's always been challenging. Sometimes when it rains, it pours. Sometimes you get like this notice, I'll be leaving at the end of this month. Yeah, but that's pretty much the challenge.
Turnover.
Yeah.
It's expensive. It's time consuming, and it's one of those things where if I average less than 2 hours a month to manage my portfolio, most months are 30 minutes. But some months are 5 to 10 hours because that's the time you have a turnover and you're coordinating with the rehab and the flooring people and the windows and making those kind of calls. So it's not like it's 2 hours every month consistently throughout the year, or you have 1.5 hours a week every week. There'll be a week, I'm sure we have like 5 hours and then nothing for a while. And this question I think is really important for what's coming in the next year or two, because as much as I can tell, everyone is calling for a recession. There's a couple outliers calling for no recession, so they can look smart if they're accidentally right. But how did you survive between 2008 to 2011 when the recession was in full swing?
I loved it. Now, I'm sorry for people who lost their jobs, but as far as a real estate investor goes, you're like a kid in the candy store there because the prices drop tremendously. You're buying property at maybe 30 or 40 cents a dollar. And like I said earlier, a lot of this stuff was rehabbed. People rehab these properties, and then the bottom fell out, the values collapsed, you're underwater, so you just walked away, and then investors came and picked them up. Again, I'm hoping there's not a recession for the sake of my fellow Americans. No one wants a recession. But here's the beauty when it comes to real estate. You can it's doable in a lot of different economies. Like I said, I sat out during the boom. People made millions of dollars flipping. I sat out, but when the recession hit, I did very well. I did very, very well when there was low inventory. Recently, I did very well. So yeah, recessions are usually pretty good for real estate investors, unless again you bought a house and you're trying to flip it and the bottom collapsed, and then that's sad. Yeah.
Wholesalers the Burr method can run into some snags during a recession. And it's actually a twofold benefit to the buy and hold investor. So you are positioned with cash flow to be able to buy when lending tightens up. You have income on your rent, rental income on your tax returns. You probably have a good credit score. You have your down payment saved up. Fear starts hitting everybody because nobody knows how far it's going to go down. But as a buy and hold investor, it's harder to buy during a recession. So more people become renters, increasing demand on your rentals. So rents went up on Class C and B properties in 2008, 9, 10. So if a recession does come, and I see a question here, do I see a recession coming in housing? I don't. I'm not a call. I don't have the crystal ball and I make calls because I really like it when Warren Buffett says, if I knew what the Fed rate was going to be in 2 years, it would have absolutely no impact on how I invest. If I knew where houses were going to be in 2 years, it would have absolutely no impact on how I invest because there's only two things that tell me when to buy. So, go ahead.
No, I don't see a crash. There's way too many safeguards put in place for housing. After the crash in 2000, the 2008 crash, I believe the Obama administration put in a lot of safeguards to make sure that we don't have a repeat performance. And the inventory is just not there. And you have a lot of moratoriums and there's a lot of moratoriums and there's a lot more government interaction. I don't know who mentioned this. I did hear this, that no administration wants to be known as the administration where there was the crash. That'll forever stay in the Bush administration. That's what he'll be remembered as. Yeah.
So whenever someone says, is there a crash or a recession coming in housing? The reason I say no is because it's not going to hit prices. The inventory is not there. The demand is there. What it is going to hit, it has been hitting for several months. So we've had that crash in transactions. The number of deals that happen go down.
Yeah.
Just like in the 70s, which was before either one of us was investing, interest rates doubled. And everybody says, well, when interest rates go up, prices have to come down. No, home prices tripled.
Yeah.
There were a lot less deals that happened, but they were more expensive deals. Foot ahead to freedom. Howdy, what systems do you use to manage all your properties? So you have the handyman, and then what systems do you use?
That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Just the handyman and that's about it. Some days I get some days that my text message goes off the chain and just text back. If it's plumbing, I text this plumber. If it's electrical, I'll text this electrician. It's hit or miss some days, but that's pretty much it.
So what I love is that they asked a question and you didn't make up an answer, because this can be as simple or as complex as you want it to be. My entire business is one checking account, one saving account, one credit card, one Excel spreadsheet. Like it's just super simple. But there are people who do a bank account for each property, an LLC for each property, and they have Stessa and every single different way of running it. And it can just be, you have 67 rentals. And when asked, what systems do you use? The answer really is handyman.
Yeah.
There's a question from Jason C here. The Section 8 housing people in my area seem to be pretty good and easy to work with. That's awesome. My folks have one Section 8 tenant. It's working out well. The inspectors walked out through in like 10 minutes. That's awesome. So you continue to do that there. They asked me if I saw a recession. We talked about that. Millennial Mike Domlos to say, make 2023 2008 again, bring on the crash, of course. So there's a question, let me see. There's a question here from Sky. Howdy, Sky. Since you purchased many years ago, how do you plan to take advantage of depreciation for those properties that you've bought over 27.5 years ago, or as they come to that point?
Let's see, I bought my first rental property in 1998, so I'm still getting depreciation from that. I don't understand the question.
So let's say you own your properties a long time.
Yeah.
And depreciation is over.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because I have an answer, and it's much more simple than you.
I'm stumped here.
Okay. So the very easy answer is it's going to suck because Dom makes so much money. He has to pay some taxes.
I think depreciation was at 3.5 a year or something.
So it's the value of the buildings divided by 27.5 spread out over, unless you do a cost segregation. So this is why you hire a tax pro as soon as you own a rental, because again, going back to this can be as simple or as complex as you want. I don't want to know how all that works. I want a CPA that is trained. This is their job to say, here's the strategy that best fits what you're doing. But yeah, Sky, I think at some point we run out of depreciation, and your property is probably paid off. So you don't even have a mortgage. So you don't have the interest write-off. You don't have the depreciation, and you just have this big lump of cash coming in every month from that property. Government's going to get their part.
The rents have gone up in those 27 or 28 years. The rents have gone up, and you don't have any payments. So yeah, okay. Take a small little hit.
Cool. Okay. So I think unless any pop up with the super chat really quick, I think we're done with questions, unless the Millennium Mike lets me know that I missed a good one. My last wrap up question, and I will absolutely be okay if you don't want to divulge. 67 rental properties. About how much profit is that in a year?
It varies. You know, I keep reinvesting. That's why my accountant hates me. That's why he hits me pretty hard once a year. You know what? I really don't even know. I just keep, every time I get them, keep reinvesting. I'm not catching my breath, just reinvesting. Yeah.
Good. I don't think I would know my cash flow, my net worth, my anything, unless I was making videos. And since I make videos, I had to do research. And then I was like, wow, I have in the same day, I had $1 million in debt and $1 million net worth in the same transaction. And I had no clue. So it's kind of cool that you don't know your cash flow. It's a lot, right? Dom, this will be the last question. Does your school system offer the 403B and pension plan?
403B. Yeah. And again, I was told early on in my first couple of years to invest in that from a landlord as well. This guy, great investor, and he took me under his wing. So you get people put into your life. I think that's a blessing. Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So in closing thoughts, I'm going to let Dom kind of freestyle it here. If you met somebody like Darius, Millennial Mike's friend, that is in Gary, Indiana to learn and grow his portfolio, and they came to you and they said, hey, I want to get to where you are. What advice do you have for that newer investor that has like 1 or 2 rental properties and is starting out?
Aim higher.
Aim
higher than Dom. Aim higher than Dom. Okay. Find your formula. Formula is everything. Find your formula. Find your area. Find your niche. And just keep going. Delayed gratification. Hold off on, maybe buying luxurious items. Make enough money every month where you could sock it away. Sock it away. I think formula is everything. I think people try and reinvent the wheel. Once you have what's working, keep going. If you're making X amount of money every month, save that and just buy as much as you can. If you can afford to put, if you put the requisite down payment to buy 2 houses a year, you'll make more money, and then it might be buying 3 houses a year, and it builds up.
Nice. Well, Dom, I want to thank you very much for coming on here, taking your time to share your knowledge. This has been almost 50 minutes of brain dump of somebody who's been doing this for years that is successful at it. Hopefully you were taking notes. And if somebody wants to reach out and get a hold of you, is there a way that they can do that?
I'm on LinkedIn. And I email Kosteris@yahoo.com. Oh, by the way, I have a YouTube channel, Dominic Kosteris. Like and subscribe.
And the link to that channel will be a pinned comment
Nice.
after this live stream is over. Thank you very much, Tom.
My pleasure.
Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk. And we're off.
We're off. That was good.